Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Super Game Brothers podcast, a weekly podcast all about the board games and video games that we have been playing as two brothers, hence the name Super Game Brothers. This is episode number 39, which means we've been doing it for 39 weeks in a row, which seems like a lot. My name's David, and I'm joined every week by my brother, Devin. Devin, how are you doing today, 3 days after Christmas?
Ho, ho, ho.
Or is it 2 days?
I don't know.
2 days after Christmas. It's Friday.
I'm doing fantastic, though. Just trying to get my sleep schedule right. I've been napping.
Naps are the worst.
Weird times. They are. They're nice, but they're the worst. Get you all messed up.
Yeah.
No, doing well. Christmas was beautiful, as it always is.
Yeah,
what a wonderful time if you can let yourself get immersed into the feeling and the spirit of it. Oh, man.
It is good until after Christmas when you got to start like looking at your credit card statement and be like, oh, crap, how do I pay all this stuff off?
Yeah, that's why I don't buy anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, for you, I'm sorry.
It's fine. We have 3 kids. We had to buy at least 3 presents.
I'll bet there were only 3 under the tree.
No, there were more. But it was great. Kids loved it. Well, little parent stress, but...
You had some fun experiences on Christmas.
We did. We got the kids a trampoline and a basketball hoop for the front yard. Trampoline for the backyard. So we got backyard, front yard, taken care of. Building the trampoline Christmas Eve night took about 5.5 hours.
You told me it wasn't that bad. That was bad.
It wasn't too bad until I got the tramp all set up. My wife helped me a little bit. Got the net all set up, and then there's supposed to be a little like dinky hoop up top, but they sent the wrong brackets for it. The brackets were like printed backwards.
Cool.
So I struggled with that stupid little dinky hoop for like the last hour and a half. So I was like, there's no way they did these wrong, but they totally did. They would not tighten on. So that took the longest part, which was annoying. But our 7-year-old son caught us building it. So that was fun. So that present's from mom and dad, as it was definitely planned to be. And then Santa, he brought the basketball hoop out front. Has a big old bow on it. He let me know in advance. So I filled it with water and this like crazy gel powder so that the base will be super heavy and the water can't freeze, so it won't crack the base because it then turns into this like solid. I was like, cool, got it all figured out. Go out the next morning, hoop had fallen over, squish the rim, just like into a pancake. And it wasn't even like windy. I don't even know like what happened. Maybe a teenager kicked it. I don't know. So I've got to get a new rim, and the tramp doesn't have the little basketball hoop on it. So we had issues with both of our big gifts.
You should sell the basketball hoop to like carnivals because they like their hoops like that.
Yeah, that's true. You're not winning any tickets with that thing.
No.
Yeah. Other than that though, and I think I'll be able to get a new rim and have the company send me the correct brackets for the trampoline, so it'll eventually be fixed. But kids love the tramp. They've been jumping like crazy, and yeah, lots of fun other little goodies. Got my son's new Switch controllers. Got them 8-bit do controllers, and they're great. Man, great deal too. It's like $25, and the controller's like
that's a cool gift. You know, one day when they're older and they think a little more for themselves, they're gonna be like, "Dang, our dad knew some cool brands. He knew the tech," which is cool because a lot of people probably just be going, you know, to Target.
Yeah,
and maybe they have them there. I bet I just don't think so.
I don't think they have 8-bit do ones. You probably end up with a Power A. Is like one of the mediocre off brands that you can get for about the same price, and they're not very good. I've had those.
It's nice to have a nice controller.
It really is. They're great.
Really nice.
Got my one son Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is a pretty fun game. It's kind of like Donkey Kong 94 that came out on the Game Boy, where you're Mario trying to solve all like the puzzles to get like unlock the door, get to the top of the screen, get the key here, save all the little dudes. Donkey Kong's the bad guy. That one's fun. And I got my other son Luigi's Mansion 2, because they love Luigi's Mansion 3. And they've been enjoying both of those. What else do we get? Some basketball, football, stuffed animals, monster truck things, and Hot Wheel cars. Lots of plastic. Hey, kids like plastic. Ooh, I got a new golf bag. It's I got the cheapest one I could find. Basically, it was $150 at Costco. It's a pretty nice bag. It's a Sunday. It has 14 slots for all 14 clubs, which is nice. My most cases or bags have like 6 to 8, so you have to double up a few clubs in a single hole. I really wanted one with 14, but they get pricey if you want like a TaylorMade or something. But this one's nice. It's like straight black, so I got a blacked out bag. Looks nice. Excited about that. Cleaned all my clubs with a toothbrush. Get them all ready to go in there.
Attaboy.
Yeah. But yeah, holidays are fun. It's good to have a few days off of work. I did work today, which was thrilling.
Oh my gosh, I was so jealous.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get a ton of gifts. Our parents decided all the older kids this year get money. But because of the nostalgia of Christmas, our dad decided he'd still get us a couple things.
Yeah.
So I got an insane flashlight.
That thing is nuts. How
It
many
is
lumens
insane.
is that bad boy?
It is 5,000 lumens,
Yeah.
which is a lot. And it's rechargeable, so you don't have to do batteries. And it actually has a USB-C out port, so you can charge your phone with your flashlight, which is insane. It's the only light you'll ever need. It is extremely bright.
It's very bright.
Like, it's so bright within 2 to 5 seconds of it being on, it would burn your hand on the top. But it has a safety feature if you block the light from the top. If it thinks the end is against something, it will just shut off. Super cool. Got a massage gun for working out. And then with a little bit of that money, I went to Shields and bought a weighted vest. Well, it's not a weighted vest. It's a vest that can take thin weight plates on your chest and on your back. So you insert them in there and like clamp them in with all these straps and then fold it all back up and put it on. It's 40 pounds right now, and it's crazy. I'm stoked.
What's the plan with that? Like to wear it often, or do you just wear it when you're exercising?
I would like to wear it relatively often, but the main two things is when I do yoga. It just allows you to just like go deeper into stretches because it's extra weight, which is super nice. And then for when I work out legs, it's very beneficial because it takes the toll off of your hands having to hold weights.
Yeah,
I could lessen the weight in my hands now and still have more weight than I had before, but less in my hands. And it's supposed to increase bone density. Basically, I want to trick my body into believing that I'm heavier than I am, so that it just adds, I don't know how the body works, but it adds bone density and preps me for continuing to gain weight. That's the goal. That's what I'm most stoked about. It sounds silly probably to most people, but I obsess over weird things. So,
no, I think it's cool. I don't know. You mentioned it feels like tough to just do like everyday things like stand up or like sit on the couch or bend down and I'm like, man, I wonder then if I lost 40 pounds, how good I would feel.
Oh, it is crazy. Just to have 40 on your body. I wish it held it up in more places instead of just like backpack straps that are padded.
Yeah.
Because it might take the toll off of your traps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it is wild to have that much extra weight on you and just try to lean down and grab your phone that you dropped or whatever. And so I'm hoping that if I'm just casually wearing it, everything I'm doing will be slightly benefiting me in some way.
Yeah, I would think so. Cool.
Yeah, super weird.
Oh, that's way cool. The holiday break, Lacey and I have been watching a few movies, TV shows. We watched Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Don't know. I love Mission Impossible. I think the first one, not number 2. And 3, 4, and 5, I think are all excellent. And I actually like 6 as well, with Henry Cavill. I think that was 6. 7, yeah, cool scene, popping those cufflinks. Yeah.
So,
I thought 7 was good for the last 40 minutes, but I thought the first hour and a half had some of the worst writing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice those things. I've seen it multiple times. Was this your first time watching it?
It was, yeah.
Is this the one with the train, Vanessa Kirby?
Yes.
And the entity?
Yeah, the entity.
Okay.
Lacey was actually the one that mentioned it. Like,
Wow.
she was like, I cannot believe how cheesy some of these sentences are. And I think we were talking about it after, because we did like it. And I think the premise is fun, and those movies are crazy because Tom Cruise is 60 years old and jumping off mountains or whatever the heck he's doing. I think the thing they struggled with was this one's going to be about artificial intelligence and this entity, but we know that a lot of our audience are like older folks that don't understand like what that threat could possibly even be. And so because of that, we're going to have a ton of exposition. Just over explain everything.
Oh, I see.
Like the cheesiest lines ever.
I don't know why writers' stories go that route. It reminds me of the multiverse in Marvel, where you're doing too much, or you have all of these options where there's always a way out. There's actually no real threat because, oh, something bad happened, let's go back in time, and then there's a different version of me, and who cares about that one if he dies, because we'll just get our world saved. And it's the same with me for AI. It's like they can be in a scenario where it seems like they've accomplished their mission, but who knows? There was like that camera in the tree that the hunter put there, or whatever, and AI tapped into that and it saw what happened. And I'm like,
yeah, I agree. It's not quite as fun as like Mission Impossible 3 has Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain, and he's like an excellent villain in that one. And I think the villain in like even 4, 5, and 6 are also great. But this one is just like some amorphous entity. And so it is like less exciting in that way, in my opinion. And I don't like it when fiction or any kind of media doesn't trust you as the viewer.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you're saying.
It's like, okay, I know I'm not the smartest. Like if this show is about rocket science, I know I'm not going to understand every like minute detail that they're talking about, but like trust me a little bit. Like I'm going to understand the main premise as long as you tell the story in like a way that makes sense. I'm going to be able to follow the threads. You don't need to like tell me, here's the thread again. Oh, just a reminder, here's the thread 5 scenes later. Oh, here we are again. Here's the thread.
That's
what the movie felt like.
To be honest, I think movies and the lines that they are speaking sometimes are doing way too much and make things extremely cheesy. I was watching this horror film the other day. Shocking. And so this guy's breaking into this girl's house and she's scared to death, as anyone would be. But they did this weird scene where she walks in the kitchen and in slow motion, she grabs the knife out of her knife holder and stares at it like, oh, it's still a knife. It's like for those 5 seconds, she was no longer scared. It was just this scene of like, oh, she's grabbed a knife. I was like, dude, grab the knife and run. What are we doing?
We get it.
Yeah, super weird. I think as a viewer, if you're really paying attention, you can pick up on things. If the acting is good, you'd be like, oh, they made this facial expression, which shows they understand that person. And I agree. Trust your audience.
Yeah, subtle storytelling like that. You said like the facial expressions, or why did she like look off camera or something, like your eyes and like your demeanor and stuff can say so much. I don't need the main character to explain to me like what the artificial intelligence threat is.
It's almost
75
like
times.
Every horror film, the best horror films are when the monsters are not shown. In most scenarios. Sometimes you show too much and you ruin your film.
Yeah.
In a way. Maybe not ruin it, but it lessens the value in some way.
Yeah. So I don't know. Ups and downs with that one. Made me want to go back and rewatch 3, 4, 5, and 6 because I really like some of those. I think number 4 is my favorite. That one's called Ghost Protocol, I think. That's the one where they
climb up the building?
Dubai, yeah. I think that one's my favorite. It's good. Just has good sequences, and I'm not sure. I like parts of a lot of them. But yeah, I'm not sure. Not sold on this one here. I did see like a trailer for part 2 because Lacey and I are a bit behind watching this one, right? I think the second part comes out this summer.
Oh, cool.
In 2025. And I mean, based on that commercial, they're pitching it like it might be Tom Cruise's last movie in this franchise, which he's getting old, so it seems like it would probably be smart for him to no longer, strap himself to the side of an airplane that's taking off or something.
Yeah.
So that would be crazy, though. I don't know who they would. Is he so prideful that they wouldn't let like the series continue without him? That would be weird, but he's been in every single one.
Yeah, it would be weird. It's like losing Iron Man. It's like, this isn't as exciting.
Yeah. For a minute, they had Jeremy Renner in them, and it seemed like, it seems like they're slowly transitioning to him, and he's going to be the face now. But then he wasn't in that one.
He was in his snowblower or something, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he did get injured, so that might have been why. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do
past
past
that.
that.
Scary thing.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't read a lot into that, but he got really beat up, didn't he? Like, they thought he might die for a minute.
Yeah. I don't know.
Jeez.
I don't know too much
about that. Humans operating like machinery. We think we're smarter than we are sometimes. Not saying it was his fault. I have no idea in his scenario. He might have been an accident for all I know. I just we come from a family of farmers, like grandparents and great grandparents, and they're always telling us stories about like some guy in the city that like fell into like a wood chipper and vanished. Like nobody knew where he was for a couple days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that machinery, it'll destroy a body.
Dude, there's some dangerous jobs. I saw a job where you stand in between train carts as they get close to each other, and they have these massive connections where they touch. And when they touch, you're supposed to like lock them together, but you have to like be right in between them when they smash together. And it's like,
if you mess that up, are you getting squished?
I guess if the bumpers broke, you just squish. I don't know. I was like, whoa.
Hopefully they're paid really well.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Let's see. What else did we watch, though? We watched the new Nate Bargatze comedy special on Netflix. He's one of my favorite comedians. It was very funny. I laughed a lot. Just so many props for comedians like him and Jim Gaffigan who keep their comedy clean. Because it is harder, for sure. Because, I mean, cussing is funny.
Yeah, to a point.
To a point. It gets to a point where you're like, okay, you're being annoying with it, but like keeping the whole show like family friendly, it's got to be harder.
Respect.
Yeah, lots of respect. Liked it a lot. I think he's great. We also watched the first 2 episodes of Beast Games.
Oh, did you?
On Prime. It was kind of silly, but it's kind of fun. It is crazy. It's almost like a little sickening what people will do for money, because a lot of the show is like pitting people against each other. In the first episode, so there's 1,000 contestants in Mr. Beast's Beast Games on Amazon Prime. Whoever wins, the last one left, will win $5 million. But in each episode, he's giving away tons of money as well. And so they have a bunch, each episode's like 45 minutes. There's a bunch of mini like challenge events to see which people get eliminated or whatnot. So in the first episode, they had all the contestants on these little platforms in like a grid. So there's rows and columns. And some of the games they played with all of the people in their column or all the people in their row. And for a few of them, they have to choose like who's going to be the captain for this this event. And this last one was Mr. Beast told them, I'm going to offer the captain a lot of money. If they take it, your whole team is eliminated. So choose a captain that won't take the money.
I'd have been a good captain. I really do. I've been like, no, I'm not going to screw these people over.
I know, but so they talk about it for like 20 minutes or whatever and choose their 4 captains. And then they get up there. This is actually the second episode. And he has just on the huge, like 400-inch screen, I don't know, some humongous screen behind them, the amount of money that the offer is. And it gets up to $1 million. Like, would you take $1 million to like eliminate the other 100 people on your team?
I don't know. I don't think so. Just because they put so much trust in me, I'd feel so stupid.
You would, but $1 million would change your life.
Eh.
It's hard. And again, it's kind of like a fun social experiment, but at the same time, it is like kind of sad to see what some people do, because some of them totally sell out their team. Like, I will be a good captain, like I promise, and like they choose them, and then it gets to 100 grand, and they hit the button and take the money, and their whole team's eliminated.
Sounds like a sales job.
Exactly. Lying your way into the money. And so I'm like, are we rewarding that kind of behavior? And it's kind of sick to see like people abandon like their human connection and like their morality for the chance of having some money sprinkled on them. It is a lot of money. A lot of money, but I don't know. It's kind of fun.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. What an event. They have the 1,000 employees, or not employees, contestants in the first episode. In the first episode, he gets rid of half of them through the challenges. So there's 500 left. And then those 500 go to, I think he called it like Beast City. They spent like $10 million and built like this city in the middle of what looks like nowhere. It has like the men's and women's dorms and like, I don't know, like cafeteria and like basketball courts and like all kinds of stuff to do while they're living there for the next little bit.
How would you get? Do you have to like apply to be on the show?
Probably. I don't know, to be honest. And just thousands of cameras everywhere and drones flying around, and they have hundreds of people like in the back room, like watching every little angle of every challenge to make sure that they choose the winners correctly, and like who hit the button by like a millisecond first. Or one of them was they had to as a team, they're on like a floor of a building, and the ceiling has all these holes in it about that big, and these rubber ball like dodgeballs are dropped onto like the ceiling, and the ceiling is a little bit transparent, so you can kind of see where the balls are rolling, but eventually it's going to roll through one of those holes, and someone has to catch it. If it touches the floor, that entire team is eliminated. And one team got eliminated, and they were so sad for like 5 minutes, and then they looked back at the footage, and the other team had actually dropped a ball like a minute earlier, and so they swapped teams that were eliminated. It's kind of crazy, kind of fun if you like that kind of thing. Again, makes me a little sad what people will give up for money, but in the face of millions of dollars, it's hard. Money's like it's an important thing to survive. I do think we should be nicer and like, more honest, have integrity with the things we say. It's kind of nuts, but other than that, I don't think we've watched much else. Those two things, Mission Impossible. Definitely recommend the Nate Bargatze thing that we already mentioned. Anything else you watched besides that horror movie, Devin?
Yeah, I've been watching some series on Netflix at 1.25 speed, just so I can blast through them. No Good Deed. I watched that.
I'm thinking, like, how much time does that save you? So you're at, say there's, how many episodes are in No Good Deed?
8. And I think they average like 35 minutes an episode.
Okay.
Something like that.
35.
It feels like it saves you time while you're watching.
I'm just curious how much.
But it wouldn't be that much. What are you gaining? A 25%? Yeah, 25% speed.
What's the math to do this?
So what, in total I saved like an hour? If, let's say, the whole thing was a total of 4 hours, at 30 minutes an episode for 8 episodes. But that was, I'm just going to say it's close to saving an hour. I don't know. Something like that.
I think you just divide it by 0.125, right? Instead of dividing by 0.1.
Oh, I have no idea.
And that would, I think that's right. So you got 280 minutes. I divide that by 1.25. So you watched it in 224 minutes. You saved an hour.
Huh?
About.
Yeah, there
you go.
Saved an hour and probably did something extremely ambitious and productive with that hour I saved.
Yeah, he solved world hunger.
Partially. Yeah.
Cool.
No, I haven't watched too much. All
right.
It's been pretty low key. Got sick for a bit. That was a pain in my butt.
Yeah, that's no fun.
just obnoxious. You're just getting headaches just for existing. You're just like, eh.
Yeah.
Why? Like, existing is so easy all the time
Mm-hmm.
until you're sick, and then it's like, I can't, just being there sucks.
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no. It's, good job us, though. We're doing a podcast on Christmas week.
Heck yeah, we are.
Heck yeah.
I guess that'll get us into the show, though. Not too much else. So there's, this is the 27th of December. There's no news. Just a spoiler alert. Since there's no news, we're going to skip most of the segments in the show. So this one will be a little bit unique, but just a little recap here. This is a video game and board game podcast that we do every single week. We talk about the games that we are playing, a little bit about the news in the board game and video game industries. You can get access to the podcast a few days early, right into the show, and we will answer your inquiries or read your comments. All of that at our Patreon at patreon.com/supergamebrothers. We have some other perks there as well, but those are probably the main ones. We usually start with a segment about the new games to subscription services. There aren't really any to mention. I think PlayStation Plus and Game Pass will have their January updates next week. The only thing I would say is the Epic Game Store is still giving away a free game every day. I just don't know what they are until that day. Right now it's Hot Wheels Unlimited, but it has been Control and Vampire Survivors and a couple other big ones. So make sure to look every day. Just get a free game. Nothing bad with that. Other than that, Devin, we're going to swap over to the screen just for a sec and talk about what we have been playing. So as far as video games are concerned, I've been playing 3. So Devin, if you'll throw me that first link. You mentioned napping. I'm also not a huge fan of naps, but I did have kind of a silver lining to my latest nap. It was last week. Lacey was going out for the evening. I just got the kids to bed. I was like, oh, she'll be back in like half an hour, so I'm going to take a nap till she gets back. Turns out she stayed like three hours longer at her friend's house than she was planning. So when she did get home and woke me up, I had a 4-hour nap that ended at midnight.
That'll do it.
So I was like, what the heck do I do? I'm not tired now. So I went downstairs, and the silver lining here is I booted up 9 Souls and plowed through the boss I was struggling with, and am now at the final boss. Still really love the game. I think it's excellent. I've gotten through most of like the story stuff that happens like kind of late game. Cool things happen with the characters that you like at this point. I do like that this game has more, and maybe more is not the right word, a clearer story than Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight was very vague with all of the story stuff, and you really had to like 110% the game and like find things down in the depths in order to even have a chance of trying to put the story together. This one, it does tell you the story slowly, and you're not like 100% sure why your character is even there or what you did or what anyone else did. But once you get to the point where they do tell you, like they tell you, which
so
I
in games when they're saying here's the thread, you like that a little more?
No. I just would like to be able to find it. I don't want them to shove it down my face too much. Like we talked about the Plucky Squire a little bit ago, and how like I liked the game, but the tutorial system was so like, here's the thread, here's the thread, here's the thread. Just a reminder in case you're 4 years old, here's the thread again. And they eventually patched that tutorialization out. It's a tough balance. So I agree. I get why that might come across.
Yeah, where do you think FromSoft sits on that?
Yeah, that's a hard one. They're pretty obscure.
Oh, man.
And since the games are so difficult, you really are only allowing like the most hardcore people to even find like those lore items that would, and then you have to like okay, I found the 50 lore items in this game. I'm going to take the text from those lore items and whose item was this? Why would they have said that? And then I'm going to make this like story tree. You almost have to like watch a YouTube video of somebody else that did that.
That's the only way I've ever found any information about who I've slain in those games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, that was his dad?
Yeah, those ones are very obscure.
Yeah.
And Hollow Knight, it kind of gets close to that, in my opinion. Where this one seems like it could go that way from the beginning, but it does kind of give you a more like solid kind of story as you get towards the end. Still really love it. I think it's excellent. The last boss is very hard. I can pretty consistently get past her first phase, but she does this attack in the second phase that gives you so little response time. Really struggling with it. She does a slash that sends out a red wave, which you can't parry. And maybe I've just figured it out while we're here. I need to do an unbounded counter, maybe. Anyways, I've been trying to dash through that one, then parry the next two white ones that she does right after, and then she follows those two with another red one. And she like holds still for a second. Her timing on that boss, they're definitely trying to like make sure you've mastered it by like throwing little pauses in, like where you think you need to push it, but you need to wait for the visual cue. But then the visual cue is very short. Anyways, really excellent game. We'll talk about it more later in the episode. We're going to talk about the games we played and most liked this year. And this is definitely one of mine. It's very excellent. Can't recommend it enough. It's on sale on Steam right now, I think for like $10 off. So instead of $30, you can get it for like 21. And on PlayStation, it's a little more than that, but can't recommend it enough. So good. I played 2 new games this week. First one, well, this, I guess, precursor here. Steam is having like their winter sale. Lots of good deals on indie games. So I've been reading lots of articles and like, what are really good games in this sale? This one kept coming up. It's called Ballionaire. And it's basically, I think it's called a pachinko machine. It's kind of like Plinko. A ball drops, and then there's all those little pegs that can drop around. And it's more like statistically likely that it will end in the middle. There are ones that you can gamble on. And you've probably seen those. Gambling on those machines is pretty... Even streamers do it. Like, they'll go hard, like, and either make or lose a lot of money.
Yeah, I think I've seen a little bit.
This one is just a game. And it's a roguelike in that you start a run, and you have a certain amount of points you need to get in each level. And you get them by bouncing off different pegs. And then after every drop, you basically get to choose a new peg and where you're going to put it on the pegboard.
Oh, wow.
And there are like some pegs that will teleport you to other ones, or some are food, and once you bounce off them, you've collected that food, and then if you drop it off at like a menu one, then you've like completed a recipe and stuff. It's actually really fun, but it's I wish there was maybe a tiny bit more control, because you're putting all these things like where you think would be the best spot, but then it is random at the end of the day where that ball's gonna bounce. I've only played probably 4 or 5 runs at this point, so maybe there's more I need to discover there. But anyways, Ballionaire is pretty fun. It's on sale, I think, for about $10 or something, and I'm enjoying it so far. And then next up, this one was on like every list. It's a puzzle game, very indie. It's called Void Stranger. I think the genre of this game is called Sabokan or something. Basically, it's a movement puzzle where you have to be able to like move blocks or push pieces, or you have this little wand that will let you like pick up a piece of the floor and then move it somewhere else in order to open locked doors or get to the exit of each level. And they get pretty tough. It looks very, very indie from like the gameplay segments, but then there are like story segments where the pixel art is much more like beautiful and fleshed out. And it seems like everyone, like every article I read said, go in blind, don't read anything about this game. It will definitely surprise you. I'm like, okay. And I'm enjoying it so far. I've seen a few like of the, I don't know, story cutscenes and stuff. And it does seem like they're trying to do like something cool, but I'm not far enough to fully know yet. So we'll see. The is a little weird. There's some pixelated nudity in there. Just beware of that.
Really?
not,
Interesting.
Not like too crazy, but it caught me off guard a couple times. I was like, whoa. But anyways, Void Stranger is supposed to be an excellent indie game. We'll see. Those are the 3 games I've been playing, Devin. Any games for you here this last week?
I almost clicked on Marvel Rivals, but I did not.
Okay.
I have been not really gaming that much. I log into Fortnite each day for their Christmas events. Snoop Dogg's in the lodge. He'd be letting you open presents. So that's neat.
Is he sitting at you while you open them?
No, I wish. That'd be nice.
That would be cool.
I did buy the crew pass, which gave you like every pass in Fortnite for the season and the Rocket Pass from Rocket League for like $11. I was like, this is kind of fantastic because the games kind of merge. If you have a card in Rocket League, you have it in Fortnite. That type of thing.
Right.
So that's a good deal if you're looking for battle passes. Typically, I avoid battle passes because I think the best rewards are the ones that come in the shop, usually.
Yeah.
That are unique, maybe nostalgic to your childhood, instead of some random character they've created out of thin air.
Yeah.
But I did that. What else have I been playing? Nothing really. I haven't been gaming much, to be honest.
Still on like a Clash Royale kind of hold?
A little bit. I do the daily rewards. Takes me like 5 minutes. You have to win 2 or 3 matches, and then you get the daily rewards. But yeah, it's fine. It's just so many years on a game. Things can get stale, even if the game is super, super good.
Oh yeah.
It just happens. And so to keep it fresh, I don't know that there's much I can do. It's just like, I'm hoping the Supercell just does something to make it awesome. They just released a new Tower Troop, which is a chef, like a kitchen chef. He throws spatulas. And then like every 25 seconds, he gives the beefiest card on the field a level upgrade. So you take a giant P.E.K.K.A. to a 16 instead of a 15.
Okay.
And if that P.E.K.K.A. survives for the next 25 seconds, it would go to a 17. And yeah, a very unique Tower Troop. But the game has so much. I think there's at least 110 different cards in the game now. 4 Tower Troops.
Wow.
And there's some things that I imagine, very hard to balance all of that.
Yeah, it sounds like
because of the uniqueness of everyone's abilities. There's some cards now called champions where you don't only place the card, but you have its ability you can use at any time that it's on the field for extra elixir.
Anytime the troop is still on the field?
Yes.
Not the cards in your hand. Troop has to be on the field.
Correct. So if I drop down what's called a Golden Knight, it costs 4 to place him. He does his normal thing. But if at any time I think his ability would be useful,
you can
while he's still alive, I can pay more elixir to do that ability. Very unique. The game has a lot going on, and some people think the game is becoming broken. Every month you get a new champion, or not a new champion, a new evolution, which means a card every 1 or 2 cycles is its Evo state, and they're out of control.
The Evos are?
Yes, some of the Evos are just...
Is there like a meta that everyone agrees is like the best, that you run into the same deck over and over again?
Yeah, that's one of the most frustrating parts of the game, is a lot of people use very frustrating cards. I pride myself on being perfect with card placement and timing and never leaking my elixir. And I build all my decks without looking on YouTube, and I like to do it that way. But I see the same YouTube decks 80% of the time, and they have names. Lava Loon. If you use the Lava Hound and the Balloon, you have your Lava Loon deck, and these are the cards that go good with it.
Yeah.
Or different things like that, or Log Bait, and different. I don't know. That stuff kind of breaks the game because you're going against someone and you're playing so perfectly, but there's cards to just bail you out of stressful situations. And it's like, oh, I wasn't actually playing good against him. I just have this cheap card and I won't take it out of my deck because it saves me when I play bad. Yeah,
that is hard. At the highest level of any kind of card game, I feel like you start running into that. Of like, these are the decks that everyone uses because it's like people have min-maxed how many damage can I get per second, and it's 0.01 higher than
And that's
the
all
average.
it takes to beat you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that is hard.
But other than that, no, not really been gaming. I don't think I have any board games. I played a little puzzle game our brother got for Christmas. You see that little puzzle game he got?
Oh, yeah.
In the
I
case?
do like those.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, my son got one as well. His is a little different. It's called like Rush Hour, where there's a little red car and you have to get him to the exit.
Used to be a computer game, didn't it?
I think it's been lots of iterations of it. And there's a bunch of other cars blocking the way, and you have to slide them out of the way like a slide puzzle. Those kind of puzzle things are kind of fun.
Yeah, a little bit addicting. It just kind of works out your brain a little.
Mm-hmm.
But
I played one board game. I played it twice in the last week. So we'll talk about that one really quick. Let me go back to the screen
this
here.
game is called Tidal Blades.
It is, but
not Title, Tidal.
Yeah, but it's not Tidal Blades 1 or Tidal Blades 2, which is the newest, most popular one. This was the interstitial game called Tidal Blades Banner Festival, which is a much smaller, shorter, and simpler game than 1 and 2. This is basically a trick-taking game where you are playing one card each turn, and everybody is. The unique thing here is not really trick-taking. Like, I don't play a card and then Devin can look at my card and decide what he's going to play. All the players play a card face down, and then we flip them all at the same time. So it's technically like simultaneous action selection, but it's very close to trick-taking. And then whoever won that trick, and you win based on whichever suit is the kind of the highest value at the moment, and that's based on where this yellow gate is. See if I can zoom in a little bit. Whoa, that was a lot of it. Let me see. We're almost to it, though. This is kind of cool, though, to see the board this big.
Mm-hmm.
There's this yellow gate right here. And that determines which suit of the 4 suits, yellow, orange, purple, and blue, is the highest valued. So you can see right behind the gate there is like the ranking there, yellow, and it always goes clockwise. Yellow, blue, purple, orange in that scenario. So for that hand, that would be the priority scoring. And so if I play a yellow card, that is a higher card than any blue, purple, or yellow that anyone plays. If I play a yellow 1, that beats a 9 blue because it's a yellow. If you win the trick, then you get to move your jet ski clockwise to the gate. So generally you want to do that when you are going to make up the most distance, or when the gate is at your spot, because then you get to go a full lap. Anytime you do a lap, you cross this little marker here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, probably no, but from 8 to 1, you get to flip over the top card in your deck, and you'll get more points at the end of the game for basically each lap you get. So that's what the winner does. They move to the gate. The loser of the trick, whoever had the least valuable card, which will usually be in the color that is farthest away. So for yellow, it'd probably be an orange card, since that's the least valuable there. They get 2 things. They get to activate the ability on the bottom of the card they played, which could be a bunch of different things. And then they get to decide where that gate will be for the next turn. They will move it 1 to 4 spots forward clockwise. So you get a bit of control by being the lowest card, because I'll get to decide if that gate is going to stay here in yellow, or move to blue, or even to purple, because that is 4 spots forward. Then the 2 cards, if you're playing 4 players, 2 players that got in the middle, they will put out one of their banners following the gate in that quadrant on the next available spot that matches their card, basically. That's what the 2 middle people do. At the end of each round, you score based on majorities for those banners, so they're important to get out there. There's a little bit more to it, like you get these fruit, and once they are taken, then there's a feast, and whoever has the most of them scores more points than everyone else. But played it twice, like I mentioned. I played it at 2 players with my wife, and we really liked it at 2 players. At 2 players, since there's not 4 players, obviously, what you do is you flip 2 cards from the deck over, one of them face up, and the other one face down. So you have a tiny bit more information in a 2-player game because I can see what the one face-up card is. You don't know what the face-down card is, and it will flip over when you flip yours over. But just having that one more card of information helped, and the game went really fast. It's like a 20 to 30 minute game. And then we played it at 4 players a couple nights ago, and it was, I don't know, it didn't go quite as smooth. We can't decide if we liked it as much. So still a little bit to figure out here on if we love this game or not. When we played it at 2, I was like, wow, I think this game's going to be a huge hit. Very simple, cool game, very like cute and pretty art. The pieces are all nice, like wood, the cards are nice, and everything is like clear, it's easy to play. Really enjoy it. I need to play it a few more times at 3 and 4 players and just see, does it have like the legs to stand out? The main issue we have with it is in most trick-taking games, winning the trick is important. You don't always want to, but that's generally like one of the main strategies is how am I going to win the next trick. In this one, in the 4-player game we played, one of the players was focused on that and trying to move their jet ski as many laps as possible, because if you flip over, if you get 7 laps, then you get 28 points at the end, which is a lot. And he won a ton of the little tricks, but he did not score very many points. And so we were confused, like that seems less valuable than being in the middle or the bottom. But maybe there's some nuance we haven't understood yet. It seemed like the best strategy would be to win a trick and then lose the trick so that you can control the gate and push it as far forward as you could. And then wait till the right time and then win a trick and kind of bounce back and forth. Very weird kind of structure. Really like the game though. I think anyone that likes trick-taking games, I think you would find it interesting. And I think I kind of want to try it with mom and dad even. They really like that kind of game. So really like it so far, but just some thoughts to kind of flesh out with it because I'm a little confused on what the best strategies are. And but it is cool. It's smooth, plays fast. It says 30 to 45 minutes here, and that's probably right. But the weight is only 1.92. It's a pretty simple one. So played that a couple times, and that was it for me for board games. Devin, we're going to kind of forgo the news this week because there isn't any, because it's a couple days after Christmas. So this is going to be like a 2024 retrospective here for a couple minutes. We're going to we're going to look at the games that we've played this last year, and then we're going to do 2 top 10 lists just kind of to end the episode. It won't be a very long one here of what are our favorite games we played this year, even if they didn't come out this year. Because I try to play like new games pretty often, but I don't want to just try to play the newest thing all the time. I think nobody has that kind of time if you're a real human with a job and like a life.
I'm the non-real human in this group.
No, I even meant like, even for you, like it would be way tough to like, okay, I'm going to put 30 hours into Marvel Rivals, and Indiana Jones just came out a few days before, and that's a game I need to play.
That was the one benefit of streaming a lot was
you plow through games,
encouraged to play all the brand new games. So I gotta dabble a bit.
Yeah, but even then, like, even if I was like a professional board game reviewer and was making like, or a video game reviewer and was making tons of money doing this, I wouldn't want to be tied to that. Like, we always have to be playing the latest thing, or I feel like you'll go crazy. I want to play what I want to play, and I'm generally have a little bit of a lag with like new games because I'm not like rich. So I wait for sales. I wait, see if I can get a game used. I try to play through my backlog and wait 6 months until a game, comes down in price or I've got more time in my schedule. So they're not all necessarily games that came out in 2024, but anyways, I think that'll be a fun kind of thing to end with. And before we hop into, and maybe we can just talk about it while we're hopping in. We're going to go back to the screen and we're going to go through PlayStation and Steam's and then my Nintendo one just really fast. They're like year in reviews for video games, and then we'll do the same thing for board games, and then we'll go into those 2 lists. just to kind of look at what we played this year.
A little recap.
Yeah, a little 2024 nostalgia.
Yeah,
so we're going to go back to the screen here. And I actually need to pull up Google Drive. So I should have done that. Let me see. I just have a folder there with a bunch of pictures that we're just going to pull up. Gaming picks. And we're going to start with video games. So we are down here. All right. And let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit. All right. This isn't all of like PlayStation's wrap up, just kind of the highlights here. But this is me. I joined PlayStation Network in 2011. You can see, let me see how big that is on your screen. Oh, you can see it. I played 76 games this year. I wonder how many of those I finished.
Yeah.
Probably 10 would be my guess. I have a bad habit of starting a lot of games because I love smaller like indie games too, so I'm always trying a new one. But I have a hard time finishing them. Anyways, 442 trophies this year. No platinums, which was a big bummer for me. I have 50 platinums, and I like chasing platinums. I'm working on the 9 Souls platinum right now. But this year was so busy with like setting up the new YouTube channels and getting the podcast up and going. I feel like it just took a lot of my gaming time. So, which I think has been good for me to be a little less focused on trophies. Just play the games I want to play. But I would like to get a few in 2025. Played about 400 hours on the PlayStation. Only 28 multiplayer hours, which is kind of nuts because Rocket League used to be like the dominant force there and would pull that number up a lot. The one game you have to ignore here, this is my top game, is Disney Infinity.
The truth came out.
And that's my kids. They really like Disney Infinity. They play it on our PlayStation 4. But my number 2 game, as far as time played, is Vampire Survivors, actually. So
wow,
kind of funny. I had 55 hours.
Oof, yeah,
which for me is a lot.
Than I've played, I think.
You'll see Devin's time in a minute, and he crushes that number. But I think Disney Infinity was 60 or something, which was mostly my kids. I played with them sometimes. But anyways, that is my PlayStation wrap up. Lots of games on there. I primarily play on PlayStation, but this year I did dabble in Steam as well, so we'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's go to Devin's. Here he is. He joined PlayStation Network in 2010, trophy level 274, and he played a fewer games than me, 53, but man, lots of hours, like triple the amount of hours almost. Because I was 400 hours, and you're, well, like 2.5.
When you do it for work, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. So you've got 537 trophies, 974 hours, and 59 multiplayer hours. I thought those multiplayer hours might be higher, but I guess you play Rocket League on your PC.
Yeah, and usually I play alone anyways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that would count as a multiplayer game, I think.
Oh.
I think that's what it means.
I see.
I think. Maybe it means how long you're in a party or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Top game was Fallout 4.
Which I'm thrilled for. That was my first time playing that game. I know it didn't come out in 2024.
You played a lot. We took a picture here of your hours for the 5 games you played the most. 135 hours in Fallout 4.
Yeah. That was a great game to stream and to play. And just so open and so weird. And it's a little bit older at this point. So many people watching knew so much about the game and could guide me to the unique finds that people found over the years. And
yeah.
Great game. Honestly, when Fallout 5 comes out, I'm going to be thrilled because I think it'll be super polished and next gen, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I hope so. They've had some, I don't know.
Don't tell me bad news.
No, they do good stuff, and people love Fallout 3 and like Fallout 4 generally. But I think a lot of people are thinking Bethesda like can't bring like a level like open world game to the same level as like Cyberpunk or The Witcher. Their like engine is a little more like dated and stuff, but they're doing a lot of stuff over there to try and clean it up. I think people generally like Starfield now, and so I don't know. Hopefully it'll be great. I think they're doing the Elder Scrolls first before they do
Yes,
Fallout.
I think you're correct.
But yeah, you also played 88 hours of Skyrim.
Which is wild.
83 hours of Elden Ring, which was probably just the DLC.
I imagine.
Yeah. Oh, I skipped one. 85 hours of Dragon's Dogma 2 and 75 of Hogwarts Legacy. That's a lot of hours. For each of those games, I have not played many games for more than like 60, 70 hours. That's it's crazy.
Yeah, we I don't know if you called it min-maxing or whatever, but we saw everything in some of them. We saw everything in Hogwarts, in Dragon's Dogma. We saw a lot. But some of these games are so massive, it's nearly impossible to see everything.
It's true. Open world games are so big.
If there wasn't fast travel in Skyrim, it would have been very rough.
Yeah. I agree. Cool. Lots of hours there for you, Devin. This is my Steam snapshot. I only took a picture of this section. It was the games I played. So what is that? 4, 8, 9 times 3, 27, 30. I played 31 games on Steam this year.
You played Splinter Cell? That's amazing.
Not for very long. I do want to. I bought the whole trilogy for like $5. And I do want to play them again. That was one of my very favorite series as a teenager. But few games on there. Baba Is You and Tabletop Simulator got the most of my time. I dabbled in Vampire Survivors there, but mostly played it on PlayStation. And then I played Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus a bit there too. And UFO 50. There's some good games that I played on the Rogue Ally. It's a fun little device for playing games like this. Indie games. And as we can see from my list, which we're going to see in a little bit, much more indie focused year for me compared to Devin's Fallout and Dragon's Dogma and Elden Ring. But
I respect it. Not a ton of people dabble in indie like you do.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like that's where you get the most variability. Like the games are way different from one game to the next. Whereas if you go from like Elden Ring to Dragon's Dogma, like they're different, but it's like they all want to be like the big open world game you play for 70 hours and we'll buy the DLC pack for. And I don't know. I like the uniqueness of indie games. All right, here's Devin's Steam list. I don't think he plays a ton on Steam. It's mostly Epic for Rocket League and then on PlayStation, but did play some horror games here as well. Lots of creepy looking ones there.
And a lot of them are probably, I don't hardly remember what Silent Breath or Shh is.
I think Silent Breath was the one where you're in the woods and it would pick up your sound from your microphone.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And you had to like find the 5 different places. And
yeah, I think so.
We actually ended up beating that really, really quickly, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And then I think the Be Quiet in audio form right there. I don't know how to pronounce that. Shh. That game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we turned that feature off and just walked through the game like a normal horror game. And then the Baby in Yellow was like just ridiculous. But people bought us these games to play and to try because they liked them. Like Blair Witch. That was purchased for us as well. And that game, the ending was terrifying, but super fun. Demonologist, dorky, but funny moments. Always multiplayer with 3 other people.
We played a bit of the finals.
Yeah, we played the finals multiple days. Tried to understand the mechanics of that game. That is a very, very strange... I wouldn't say it's a battle royale, but PvP game. It's very, very weird.
I've heard it's very destruction focused, where like everything can be destroyed almost.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sometimes you'll just find yourself under heaps of cement, and you're like, "How am I getting out of here?" And yeah, it's a fun game. Fun loadouts, really unique weapons in that game.
And then Halo was your number 1,
which is shocking.
Did you play through some of those campaigns or something?
I think 2 or 3 of the campaigns we played through. That was the Master Chief Collection. So that's probably why that one's sitting at the top. But yeah, we had a time where we streamed a lot of the Halo games, and that was big for us. People liked that.
Oh yeah, so fun.
And Anotria, the last song, it can just be deleted from my memory. Game. It just wasn't that good. It's supposed to be kind of like a FromSoft game, I think. Yeah,
I think you're right. You played the demo, looks like.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, this is my Nintendo recap. I only played a little bit on the Switch this year. My kids play Minecraft and Luigi's Mansion and Mario Wonder and Mario Kart on there all the time, but I didn't play much. I did play or finish Tears of the Kingdom earlier in the year. Loved that. And I play a bit on the Super Nintendo app and the Game Boy app when I want to play Donkey Kong Country or something like that. Super Mario Maker a little bit, Mario Kart a little bit, just a little bit there. It will be interesting to see what this looks like next year, though, with the Switch 2, because I imagine there are rumors that the Switch 2 is going to launch with Mario Kart 9.
Wow.
That would be a huge launch
Yeah,
game.
it's massive. It's been Mario Kart 8 for 100 years.
I know,
hasn't
really
it?
has. It came out in 2013 or 14, so at least 10 years.
At least 10 years of the same Mario Kart. They've just been adding.
Yeah, they've doubled the amount of courses. I think there's 96 courses or something, but yeah.
Wild.
Anyways, that is all of the video game images I wanted to look at here. So I think maybe we'll just jump into I guess before we jump into the list, Devin, what would your opinion on this year in video games be? Has it been, do you think, a good year, underwhelming year? Do you feel like you played more than you wanted to? Less? Do you want to play more or less next year? It's a hard question.
It's always going to be a nostalgic thing for me and just this sweet place to me. But I enjoyed doing it for work quite a bit. I mean, it's beneficial to do what you enjoy and master it, but also have a little bit of income.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I were to fully go away from that, I would hope that I dabble a little less, maybe, in games. But overall, I would say this year was super fun for me. There's a lot of games on these lists that I had a great time playing. I just wish there were some teams, and I'll say this until the day I die, that were solely focused on fantastic horror games.
Yeah.
I just love the genre, but I think I'm in the minority. I don't think there's a huge group of people that are just dying to play horror games. But maybe one day.
There was a few big ones this year.
Yeah.
Silent Hill and Alan Wake. But you're right. There are not like a lot of teams that are spending $50 to $100 million on a big horror game. It's most of the horror games come from little indie teams that are things like Shh and whatever the other one was called, and the Baby in Yellow, the little indie teams that want to make the horror game for $10 that they hope a streamer will play.
Imagine a game as good as Destiny, or like we're at that level, okay? Yeah. But it's completely horror focused, and you and 5 friends go on a raid, and you're in a haunted hospital, okay? And it's quiet. There's water dripping, and you're like, oh shoot. And it can hear your mic too, or it can't. I don't know. Maybe we don't want that feature. But it's just intense, and it's scary. And all of a sudden, you're seeing monsters and all of you. You know what I mean? Just going crazy.
Sounds like you need to make a game.
Yeah. I'd be very good at
that. Yeah. That would be cool. I feel like Alien Rogue Incursion just came out for the PlayStation VR 2, and it's supposed to be pretty good. And I know the team that made Alien Isolation is making a sequel, but that's probably a few years away, I would imagine. I can't think of any other big horror games that have been announced at the moment, though. But it does seem like we're slowly getting a few more every once in a while, but it's a little sparse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's been a pretty good year for video games, especially indie video games. I haven't played most of like the bigger things like Dragon's Dogma and Silent Hill, or I don't even know what the other big ones this year were. I haven't played Indiana Jones yet, which is the big one recently. I don't really play Call of Duty anymore. Assassin's Creed got delayed till I think early next year, and What else came out this year? I don't even know. But it does seem like, even for people that do just like big games, it's been a really good year. Like the what's that football game called? EA Sports College Football or something came back this year as the first college football game in like 10 years, and it's already the best-selling sports game of all time, which is crazy considering like 30 years of Madden and whatever else. So like that was been a huge hit. People really like Metaphor Refantasio if you like JRPGs and games like Persona, and I really liked Astrobot. That's kind of like a nostalgia thing for me. It just reminds me of Mario Galaxy and stuff like that. But so there are some great big games as well. You had the Elden Ring expansion and Black Myth Wukong. So I feel like there's just, I wish there were fewer games because I feel like then I'd be able to keep up more. There are so many. I kind of have to pick and choose. And if I'm going to pick and choose, I'm going to pick the one that is 8 hours long and $20 as opposed to the one that's $70. And I think I'll struggle to finish.
Yeah. I feel that.
Which is a bummer. But anyways, all right. Well, Devin, we're going to end this video game segment by just really quickly going over our favorite games that we played in 2024. These aren't necessarily games that came out this year. They could have come out in early years. I think this is usually called new to me games. So they're new to you, but not necessarily to everybody else. I have a bunch of honorable mentions, and Devin does as well before we hop into the top 10. So I guess just really quick, Devin, I'll go back to the screen and we'll just pull each one of them up, even though some of them will only be for a second or two. So feel free to send those over. But first up, honorable mention for me, I finished Fez this year, which is an excellent puzzle game that I started probably 8 years ago and really enjoyed back then. And the soundtrack has like been on my shuffle list for a long time. It's a really great game. I think the developer, Phil Fish or whatever his name is, has kind of gotten some hate, and I don't even fully know why. But it is an excellent puzzle game. Just can't recommend it enough. So honorable mention there from me.
Should we go through all your honorable mentions and then mine? Or
Sure.
Back and forth?
Whichever way. What do you think?
Well, this is mine.
Let's go back and forth. That'll be more enthusiastic, or people don't have to listen to me the whole time or something,
We have a bunch of honorable mentions, but one of mine would definitely be Returnal. I have not beat this game yet, but we streamed it a couple months back, and
so good.
It's so good. The movement ends up being so good, and it's so fast and so intense, and there's music and lights, and just very cool upgrade system. The whole game setup is just fantastic, in my opinion.
And as soon as you get to the third and fourth boss, I think the game will elevate, in your opinion, because I think they're excellent. But yeah, love that game. That's one of the platinums I have. Very tough platinum. Okay, my next one, another puzzle game. I love puzzle games, lots of indie ones, is Baba Is You. Another one I started a long time ago and then got way further this year than I ever have. This is one where you can like manipulate the sentences on the screen, and so they change the rules and the logic for the entire level you're trying to solve. Very inventive and cool. Just great. If you like puzzle games, it's so unique. Just try it. It's awesome. All right, next up for Devin is a classic, or a sequel to a classic, which is also.
But it was new to me.
Yep.
I don't think I'd ever played this before.
Yeah.
I played BioShock 2, which in this game you are a big daddy.
Which is such a cool twist.
Yeah, very unique. In the first game, I don't even remember who you were. Daryl, or some guy. I don't know.
Daryl from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
What's that big daddy doing?
But this game was cool. For being an older game, super unique, funny builds.
Yeah.
You made all these builds for like freezing people or starting them on fire or super speed or just melee or explosive. Fun game. Amazing aesthetic, in my opinion. Kind of horror in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But BioShock 2 is definitely on that list for me.
All right, my next honorable mention is Braid Anniversary Edition. This is like the new 4K pretty version of Braid that has a bunch of extra added levels and like a developer commentary. One of the most like well-loved and earliest like puzzle games that ever came to like Xbox Live Arcade. And for whatever reason, this game has not sold well. I don't know why, because it's like a beautiful 4K remake with extra content. It's on sale right now for $5, I'm pretty sure. Buy it. It's so good. You have to like puzzle games because you have to like think in reverse and do tricky puzzles, but it's really good. This one's definitely a Devin game here.
This is definitely a Devin game, and I was slightly underwhelmed with this game, but since it was another dark anthology, whatever it is, this was in the world of Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah.
This game had a bunch of bugs, super weird. You just like get stuck on stairs, and then it was Stair Simulator, which was cool. And that's why these reviews are mixed, probably.
Yeah.
But overall, funny games. My one gripe would be that when you make a decision in these games, you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. Ever. And so you really can't be strategic. Even if you think I should jump this 2-foot gap, because in every scenario in real life I could jump it, but this character's not going to be able to.
And then your character might die. Or
yeah. But interesting horror game. I think we finished it. I don't remember.
I think you did. Yeah. All right, next up for me, Spelunky and Spelunky 2 are some of my very favorite games of all time. And the next game from the creator of Spelunky is UFO 50. I think he had a partner and a team that helped him. And this game is so inventive and cool. I think it would be on my top 10 just if I had played more of it. There's so much game here. It's 50 games that like look like they could have been on an NES or a Super Nintendo. And each game is different and unique and like a complete kind of experience, but there are like threads of like story that go between them, and it's just really cool. UFO 50 is just awesome. So love that one. It deserves lots of love. Really like this next one, Devin. I'm glad you tried it this year.
This game is so weird. This is called Cult of the Lamb. Very strange. One downside for me is survival games sometimes destroy my brain. I'm like, well, I didn't know Jeff hadn't eaten, and now he's dead.
Jeff's dead.
So everything needs to be fed. They need their spirituality and their church meetings and all this stuff. And there's another side of the game where it's kind of like Hades. You're going kind of top down, slaying shotties with swords and super cool art.
Love the art. So cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Really, really fun, but this game just destroys you if you're not on constant upkeep of all your characters, and you can name your cults whatever you want, and it can get epic.
That is true. Very true. Yeah, that's a fun one. It didn't have co-op when I played it, but I'm glad they patched that in.
We named our cult the Riverton Silverwolves.
That's great.
And the names were a little less family friendly than I would have liked.
That's funny. I played a few Metroidvanias this year that I really liked, and huge shout out to this one, Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus. It probably would have been my favorite one of the year. There were just so many good ones this year. If one other one in particular had not come out, I really like that this one incentivizes you to stay in the air, which is such a different feel to most of the others. So I love how it differentiates itself that way. Where like I think you get like your dodge back by doing these like air attacks, and so you're just incentivized to stay in the air, and it's a big departure from like Hollow Knight, where eventually after your double jump and your dash, you've got to land.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
You don't have to. You could stay up almost forever if you're in a fight. It's very cool, very pretty art.
Awesome.
It deserves a lot of love. So like that one a lot.
I played Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We're still on honorable mentions, by the way. This game was super cool. The combat was way fun. Yeah. You got to choose your lightsaber color, so obviously we went with yellow or orange because it's the best. And Cool story.
Yeah.
There's a lot to this game.
Lots of twists and turns in that story. I loved the story.
You had 4 or 5 different stances. I had a lightsaber and a blaster. I was like Han Solo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that game.
I hope that they end that trilogy really well, because the first game was good. This one, I would say, is excellent. Great to excellent.
Yeah, I don't even know which number this one is.
That one's number 2.
I played number 2. Mm-hmm. Just like BioShock 2, just skipped the first one.
I think you did play most of the first one a while ago. All right, I really like puzzle games. This is a kind of simple puzzle game from this cool puzzle game company that makes just other awesome puzzle games. They made, what else they make? They make the golf one, Golf Peaks, I think. Anyways, I really like this train one called Railbound. You have to get your trains to the train station, and it just continually adds new things. I need to get them there in a certain order, and you can only use a certain number of train tracks. And there eventually are switches and things you have to hit. I love a good puzzle game. This one is hard. Later on, at least. The earlier levels aren't too bad. But once there's switches flipping all the time, it really is hard. But I like the cute aesthetic. It's easy to play on, again, the Rogue Ally with the touchscreen, because you can just move the pieces around with your finger. So, shout out to Railbound. It's a fun puzzle game.
Ooh, this is an interesting one. Hogwarts Legacy. It was a fun game. Surprisingly, for a Harry Potter game, it had decent combat and difficult moments. I actually died in the game.
Yeah.
A few times. Fun games. Pretty thorough platinum to this game.
Almost annoying.
Yeah.
In that you have to do all 4 classes.
Yeah, kind of an annoying platinum, but basically, besides the 4 classes we fully platinumed it. Yeah. We found everything. We saw everything. Fun game. If you're a Harry Potter fan, honestly, it's fantastic. I hope the next one's even better.
Yeah, I hope so too.
But it's not the best game ever made.
Yeah, so. I thought it was good.
It was very good.
Yeah, 7.5 for David. But I played it last year. All right, are we still in honorable mentions? We still are. We got a bunch of honorable mentions. Want to give a shout out to Pacific Drive. It came out earlier in the year, and what a unique and cool game. My favorite part of it is you take this car out on all these runs, and there's all these things on the runs trying to hurt you in your car, and then you find these like crystals, and once you have enough power, this like teleportation beam pops out way in the distance, and it's a race to get there before like this big storm comes in and destroys you. And that part of each level is the most fun, because you're just like booking through the forest and like jumping down stuff, trying to teleport into this beam of light before these weird aliens and saws and all kinds of crap destroy your car. That moment was very, very fun. The kind of the crafting survival portion of the game, where like you're constantly upgrading your car and you have to repair it and like get out of your car and go into buildings to get new materials and stuff, wasn't as exciting as those parts to me. But I would like to get back to it and see it through. But did such a high zooming through the woods. So Pacific Drive, honorable mention for me.
Yeah, that game made me a little dizzy the first time I played it, and then also it was like a maintenance simulator for me. I was like, okay, I need plastic. Let's go see if we can find plastic so we can.
I think they've fixed the frame rate a bit too, so it's a bit smoother now.
But, Fallout 76 is another one of mine. I got made fun of a lot for playing this game because people don't like to have fun in cooperative modes. Maybe it's not as good as the other Fallout games. I don't know enough, but I had a blast playing this. It was fun that I could bring a friend into my party, which none of the others could. And we were bouncing on cows. Like the cows were bouncy. Trying to get on these like rooftops, and super unique. I joined and instantly went to end game lobbies, and we were like fighting end game monsters, which instantly gave me end game loot. So just very arcade-ish.
Yeah, very zany.
Very zany. Yeah, it was fun though. I enjoyed it.
Cool. I do like the quirkiness of that one.
Sorry, these links take us just a
you're
brief
fine.
second.
Next up for me is an indie game I want to finish. It's got a lot of content. I really like the pixel art and the vibe of this one. It's Dave the Diver. You play as this diver dude, and you dive during the day, and you get like fish and stuff, and then at night you sell that fish in a sushi restaurant, and you do some mini games to like make sure that your customers don't wait too long before they get their fish, and then you like pour drinks, and you have to like let go of the button at the perfect height, and you get a better tip if you can get it to the right height and stuff. It's really fun, and it just has some fun humor and stuff. Has a Godzilla expansion, and just fun stuff. It's quirky and fun. Dave the Diver's great.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, really is. I want to get back to it.
All right, we got 3 more honorable mentions. So my second to last one is Cyberpunk 2077. I enjoyed this game. I didn't get to dive too deeply into this game.
You did finish it though, right?
Yes. We finished it and everybody told me I got the dumbest ending. I'm like, well, you were telling me what to do the whole game. No, the game was cool. It can be very dirty at times. But cool game, beautiful. Cyberpunk aesthetic is
cool,
top notch. The combat felt fun. It was fun shooting the guns and going to the different places. And that's all I remember. So
Keanu Reeves in there?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. Was it him or was it Shadow?
Oh, yeah, it was Shadow.
Keanu and Idris Elba in the expansion, and Idris Elba is Knuckles. So they're just reuniting in Sonic and this game. There you go. Okay, my last honorable mention goes to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is another Metroidvania game that's really it's really great. Has like a super, you can tell that this one has a much higher budget than most like indie Metroidvania games. It's very pretty. The boss fights are very impressive. With like one of them is a big snake, and he's like going forwards and backwards like through the fight while you're fighting him, and really really cool. Just really love it. I really like the art style. I like Prince of Persia a lot, so kind of had that nostalgia going into. Last one.
Yes, my last mention is God of War Ragnarok. And don't come at me because this didn't make my top 10. I don't like these games as much as y'all like these games. Okay, it was good. I thought it was good. One thing I loved about this game is you can make it extremely difficult if you want. Tons of difficulty levels, and it can be extremely brutal. Beautiful graphics.
Oh yeah,
way fun to look at. I don't know why I don't vibe with it as much as some. Maybe I just need to give it more of a chance. Sometimes there was a ton of repetition, and if you're on too high of a difficulty, it's like, man, I just spent 3 minutes killing a basic ad.
Yeah, you did play on, I think, the highest difficulty.
And maybe that's what ruined it a little
brutal.
Bit for me. But that is going to be my last honorable mention.
All right, that brings us to the actual top 10 list. So, for my number 10 game that I played this year in 2024, is gonna be a very popular multiplayer one, Helldivers 2. I think this was a really fun, few months when this game came out, where everyone was playing it and just laughing at funny videos of like, there was that one viral video of like, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? I'm good. I just can't wait to get back to see my mom. And then like the guy like gets blown up by an alien, and the other guy's like, no. Just has those funny moments. It has like that Predator kind of silly vibe with Starship Troopers as well, and it's just so fun. You run around, you accidentally blow your friend up with a grenade, and nobody cares. So really love Helldivers 2. It deserves lots of love. I want to play the new update because they have the new enemy race.
Yeah, right.
So I want to try that out. Haven't done that yet. That's my number 10.
Number 10 for me, I guess this is going to be a top 20 list since we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
But I played all 3 Mass Effects back to back to back.
You did.
And it was fun because the characters pass over to the other games, at least most of them.
Yeah.
And
your choices follow
each game is different. The way it handles, the input lag, the aesthetic, the heads-up display.
Input
just different things. I had a lot of fun with these games. They're massive.
Would you say they're mass effective?
They're mass effective, yeah. That is number 10 for me. I don't hardly remember. My memory's bad, so I think I had a good time.
I have never played those. I feel like I missed the boat, and I don't know if I... It's a big time investment. They're long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, number 9 for me. Won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I really did love Astrobot this year. It's very inventive, kind of just a game with nostalgia all over the place. You're always finding those other bots. You're like, hey, there's Crash Bandicoot or that Ape Escape dude. And for a minute, you play as Nathan Drake and whatever else. Very, very pretty and beautiful. I'm glad that this game exists because I do think that PlayStation needs like a kid-friendly like game franchise. And this one is kid-friendly, but also has like good platforming and like some difficult areas, kind of with that Mario vibe of like you can finish the game if you're a kid and just get through like the main quest. But if you want to get everything, we're gonna test you a bit. And I like that balance. So Astrobot's really great. Just you have a smile the whole time you're playing it. It's just colorful, beautiful, and just fun.
Well, it's probably eye-opening to a lot of people who are used to more Nintendo games when you put a child game on a very, very powerful console.
So pretty looking.
It can blow your mind.
Wish Mario looked like that. Switch 2, baby.
Switch 2, baby.
Probably not. Switch 2 is not going to be that. All right, next up, what do we got here?
Number 9 for me is Marvel Spider-Man 2. This game was so fun. We hung out at the carnival for a while, rode all the rides. We rode a roller coaster. The combat is super fun and complex.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Something that I couldn't decide if I loved is how you switch between Miles and Peter.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so focused on a skill tree, and now I have to look at an entire separate skill tree.
I think they handled it pretty well, where it didn't feel too jarring, but every once in a while I was like, I don't want to switch right now.
Yeah, and they had skills that like went toward both of them, and that's what I put a lot of points in.
Right.
But that is what, number 9 for me? 8 for me?
Something.
It's number something.
Venom's my favorite Spider-Man villain, so I think that's a fun one for that reason. All right, next up, big game this year, Black Myth Wukong for me. Is this my number 8?
Probably.
I really liked it. I have not finished it fully. It's very long and pretty difficult at parts. So I need to get back to it and finish it. But I was very surprised by this game. I wanted it to be like good and to maybe hold a candle to some of the to Sekiro and some of the other Souls-like games that we really love. And I'm glad that this game is very different than like Sekiro and Bloodborne and Elden Ring. It's very different, and that's much more arcadey, but at the same time still has a lot of that difficulty, especially some of those side bosses. I remember you fighting that lightning dude on that mountainside like,
oh my goodness,
65 times.
Still have nightmares.
Yeah. Very cool that the game is pretty long. I mean, you fight like it's basically a boss fight in the video game. You fight a new boss like every 5 to 10 minutes, and there is a lot of them. I would say 50 plus, probably. I don't know for sure.
It's such a cool game.
But some of them are very, very awesome. Cool aesthetic, very pretty animations. Might just be too hard for me, but I just need to try it some more.
My number 8 we'll get through really quick because we've talked about it for the last 6 weeks on this podcast. That is Vampire Survivors. It's hilarious. It is the easiest game to play with anybody. Change my mind. It really just is. You can play it with one hand and just take a brief look at some of the perks and what build you might want to go for in a game, and then you just have fun. And it's simple. If you die, you just go back in as another thing, and then you make an even cooler build.
Yeah.
I mean, cool progression system, a little bit confusing at times.
Yeah.
We've had to use Google to help us a little bit with upgrades and whatnot and remembering certain things, but Vampire Survivors is super, super cool. $4 or $5 at your local Walmart.
Yeah. And it's probably, you'd have to buy a gift card at Walmart. I don't think it's on a disc or anything, but yeah, excellent game. All right, next up for me, I think this is my number 7, if I'm not mistaken, is Crow Country. I like horror games. I'm a little bit more of a wuss than Devin for sure. And so this one was like just my speed.
Yeah.
It's like not too scary, but it's a little bit creepy. And it's basically like if you made Resident Evil 1, or maybe even 2, but made it a little bit more modern, where like the controls aren't quite as bad, and um, it's a little simpler to like get around places. The map's like a little bit more forgiving and things like that. But also, a little bit tough. You take damage pretty easily. The puzzles are a little tricky to solve at times. You have to put things in weird places um, in order to like solve like this duck or this swan head puzzle. You had to get this really weird piece. Anyway, so it's a little. It has those retro kind of horror game tropes as well, and I really enjoyed it. It's probably like 8 to 10 hours, and I think it was that's like the length I want that kind of game to be. So
I thought you platinumed that game.
I think I was very close, but I needed to. Oh yeah, there is one tricky trophy in that you have to get an S rank.
Oh, right.
Which
one
you
of those
can't take damage, basically. But really like it. That was my number 7, Crow Country.
That's such a silly thing to put as a platinum. Anyways,
I agree.
Number 7 for me, Dragon's Dogma 2. I had a ton of fun playing this game. Super weird, a little bit janky at times. There were times where I was just running for 20 minutes from like 40 enemies behind me in the dark, because there was just no way to beat them.
The nighttime mechanic was kind of weird. Where, like, you just can't. You have to escape. Yeah,
you're just dead at night. But they gave early access for character customization. I have to touch on this because I made one of the most attractive characters that you've ever seen in a video game. If you'd like to see it, DM me and put it down below.
Or just go to Devin's Twitch, Player 4.
Oh, it's probably in there. Did I make a video on that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know either. But Dragon's Dogma, funny. It had a lot of not a lot of issues, but there were times where I was doing a quest and I did exactly what the quest said and it didn't progress it, which was super weird.
It's a weird game. Like you're just like always jumping on the beast you're fighting and like holding on to him, and like smacking them while you're holding on or whatever.
It's so weird. But I mean, I enjoyed it enough to play it for almost 90 hours, and so it's a decent game.
Yeah.
Maybe I just played it for 90 hours because it was $70. I don't know. But yes, there's like 10 different classes to choose from. There's like magic archers, as you just saw on the screen, and hand to hand, and very unique. It's a cool game. That's all.
Yeah. I agree. It was cool to watch. I got a PlayStation VR 2 this year, and I think the game I've been most impressed by that I hadn't already played on my original PlayStation VR is Pistol Whip. And so I just wanted to give it a shout out. I think it's an excellent game. Feel a little bit like John Wick. You're basically kind of in Guitar Hero fashion, except you're moving down the track going forward, and then there's all these dudes shooting at you while songs are like happening, and you have to dodge and shoot. And if you can do it in beat with the music as well, you get extra points. So it's kind of got that high score chasing vibe along with lots of moving. Devin fell over playing it. I did have as well. You have to move quite a bit, but very, very fun VR game. So that's my number 6 this year, Pistol Whip.
Number 6 for me is not popping up. So hold on.
It's a Devin game through and through, though. Another horror one that I actually want to play this one. I think it's like not super scary. So I think, I mean, it's definitely scary, but
yeah, I kind of wish that it was scarier, to be honest.
Here, I'll just search
you
it.
Just search it. That's here. Perfect. Wow.
Here it is.
So Silent Hill 2. I was very, very stoked for this game. Some people say it has a fantastic story and a lot of amazing lore, and I don't hardly remember the story, but I got through it, and we did it on, I think, the hardest difficulty and found all the puzzles. Pretty much solved everything. Went through it almost an entire second time. I don't know why I can just live in that vibe. There it was, right there. It
popped up. Finally came over. It is a cool vibe. Lots of fog, creepy things. You're going in dark buildings often.
Yeah, weird things. Like some of the boss fights were almost not even fight the boss, just avoid the boss for a set amount of time. I think I ran away from like a portrait.
Oh, that's right. Or like a door. What was that?
I was getting attacked by a door. Door picture.
Maybe it's a portrait. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's super weird, but
definitely weird psychological horror stuff in there.
Yes, I enjoyed that game, though. I miss it in a way.
All right, next up for me, lots of puzzles, puzzle games, lots of indie games for me. Arranger, a role puzzling adventure. I I talked about Braid earlier in this episode, and this game has the same artist as the Braid artist, and I think it's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I just think it's wonderful to look at, and then it's just really fun. It's a slide puzzle, but you're moving things around, talking to characters with the slide puzzle, and eventually you get so good at the movement that during these like segments where you could like go down this alley to the right and then up and then right again, you just push left to like wrap around to the other side, and you can start doing it way fast, pushing the opposite direction of the way you would need to go, and you're just like boop, 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 like flipping around the map.
It reminds me of the Emperor's New Groove game I played when I was younger. You wanted to turn the opposite way of every track. So if the track was going right, you had to push left or you would fall off. It was completely mirrored.
Oh, wow.
And that, yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
But yeah, that's kind of how you move around that game fast. Has some fun boss fights, an interesting story. And I already mentioned, like, very, very pretty. Has some cool, like, optional puzzles that are quite a bit tougher that you can, like, figure out. I think it's great. That's Arranger, a role puzzling adventure. You gotta like puzzle games. It has puzzle right in the title. So I think you get that.
As we're both doing top 10 lists, we've got a bit of overlap here.
Oh, yeah.
Because my number 4 or 5, whatever we're on, is Helldivers 2 as well. I mean, do you want me to pull it up? We don't really need to. We've seen video of it.
I love crossovers. It would be weird if we didn't have any.
Yes. David and I actually played this a lot together.
Yeah, very fun.
It was just a blast. I mean, even if a game is not perfect, being able to play with friends can make a game near perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
a weird dive in that game where it's hilarious. Like an ultra dive, just like full dive as hard as a human.
My favorite was just dive backwards
while you're shooting.
Keep aiming. Yeah.
Yeah, that game's great. All right, next up is I think my number 4, or is it 3?
I think it is number 4.
Okay, number 4 for me. Very popular indie game this year is Animal Well. I didn't know what to expect with this one, other than I love the like. It's like, what would you call that kind of pixel art? It's like neon almost, kind of like neon pixel art. You play as this little blob, kind of looks like green Kirby, and this is kind of a Metroidvania game. There's no combat. There are things trying to kill you at times, but you basically just have to avoid them. And you are using the strangest objects to like get to new areas. There's not like a double jump. Instead, you get a bubble wand that shoots bubbles, and then you can jump on the bubbles, or like this frisbee item that just the coolest, some of the most inventive Metroidvania like unlocking of new areas of a big interconnected map I've ever seen. I think it's very, very special. I hope that this guy it was made by one person. His name's Billy Basso. I hope he made a ton of money, and I am very excited for his next game, even if it's not a sequel to Animal Well. I just think it was so good. So that's my number 4, Animal Well.
My number 4 is another crossover. I think this was Dave's maybe number 7.
Yeah, you actually beat this one though.
I did. I destroyed this game. Actually, this game destroyed me, but we found the right build to finally get through the end game and beat every side boss. We left no stone unturned. I enjoyed this game for its unique mechanics. Its unique builds that could be changed at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And like freezing or fire rings or self-healing or different stances. Also cool that it was made by Game Science.
Yeah, in China.
And yeah, very, very unique Souls-like game. It really was. Some of the areas in this game were so cool. I went in Santa's backpack, fought a monkey in there. We like shrunk down and I was like fighting him inside his decor for his house. It was way weird.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, super cool game. I think it has to be mentioned for me because it was amazing.
It's so good. Even though I haven't finished it, like I was so like impressed by it. I was just like, yeah, this has to be on there. All right, number 3 for me is another like indie darling this year. Balatro is just an absolutely great card game. if you like cards in any fashion. This game is kind of loosely based on poker, but not really. It's just based on poker hands, like flush and run and two pair and stuff. And then you're getting these crazy jokers that add like multipliers, and you're between each round you go to a shop and you can buy upgraded cards, discard cards from your deck. So it's a deck building game where you're trying to make a deck that really goes and specializes in one way. One of my favorite decks is called the checkered deck, and it starts with only 2 suits. So it has, I think it's just diamonds and spades. So it doesn't, because of that, when I play with that deck, I focus on flushes, because a flush is 5 cards of the same suit. Since there are only 2 suits, much more likely than with a normal deck where you have 4 suits. Anyway, so you can play with all kinds of different decks, and you're purging cards and turning cards into glass or getting... It's just so good. It's on every device imaginable. It's on Apple Arcade. You can play it on your phone, on your iPad. It's on PC. It's on PlayStation. Just play it.
And you know it's good when it's in the running for like game of the year.
It's so good. I love Ballionaire. So that's my number 3.
I'm excited about my number 3. We've already talked about it today, but this is such a, once again, I'm always using the word nostalgic game for so many people, but I was introduced to it in 2024, and
9 years later,
am obsessed with the aesthetic and the feel of this game. I could just squeeze it.
It's a cool vibe.
It is. It's so interesting, and turning your Pip-Boy radio on and just hearing the same 30 songs in a row, but just immersing yourself in this weird world and then deciding if you want to make a home or a base or not. Some people are very strict with inventory management and don't throw that away. I'm like, no, I'm just going to ditch everything and just, you know, you can play it in so many different ways. Everyone's experience would be different. I love it. I don't know. You put me in that aesthetic and I'll live there forever.
Yeah, very cool. I like how open and free it is. It's a bit too big for David. It's overwhelming.
Yep, sometimes the size is a bit much.
All right, my number 2's already been mentioned. Another crossover, Devin. This is one we've played together quite a bit too. This is Vampire Survivors. The only game I've played this year that every single person I've played it with has loved it, including all of my kids and my wife. My wife is not huge into video games anymore. Well, she never really has been, but this one, again, like Devin said, you can play with one hand, and it's just fun. You're running around and like shooting weapons everywhere, and skeletons are popping up, and you're killing them, and then every like 20 seconds you get an upgrade, and you got to pick what that upgrade is. Is it a new weapon or a new passive, or are you just making a weapon stronger? Eventually, you might get lucky and get a chest that has 5 upgrades in it, and what a fun feeling that is. And by the end of the level, which range from like 15 to 30-minute levels, unless you're playing them on double speed, there's so much going on. You really do have to focus on like your build being optimized correctly, or else you won't win if you're not making smart decisions. So it is fun and rewarding because you get to make good decisions, but doesn't have like a high skill ceiling, really. You could be slightly better at like dodging enemies than someone else, and that will help you. But even if you're not, if you can just move your character a little bit, you can play this game just fine. And
so you really could even set your upgrades to RNG, like, and probably have some Unreal builds. Yeah,
for sure. And it's fun. There's last little shout out I want to give to it is, I cannot believe how much content is in there for $5.
My goodness, yeah. You'd have to play on like 500 rounds or more to get everything.
I'm almost at 60 hours in the game, and I'm close to the platinum. But even once I have the platinum, then there's still like 40 more trophies I can get for each of the expansion packs. And so there's a lot. It's just great. $5 well spent.
Oh, this is making me nostalgic and kind of sad remembering these games.
Good year.
Yeah, a lot of these games I streamed, and I remember the moments. My number 2 is Lies of P. This is kind of like a Souls-like game. I think everybody knows what it is. But the game was beautiful. What a weird thing. You're like a puppet. You're basically Pinocchio in a way, aren't you? I can't remember.
So. Yeah,
something like that.
Geppetto's a main character as well.
But once again,
cool vibe.
Oh my gosh, the vibe is so cool. The bosses are cool. The bosses are manageable, if that's a word. Once you understand the game, you can do so much with the game. You can take a lantern and put the butt of a shovel on a lantern.
Yeah, weapons are very customizable.
Yeah, a lot of customization, really cool places. I never felt like I was doing the same thing twice like I have in a lot of other Souls games.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, here's the exact same stuff. You have a prosthetic arm with multiple abilities. Oh my gosh, this game was just so good. I don't even know who made this. NeoWiz?
NeoWiz.
They killed it.
Yeah. I think they have an expansion coming out early next year, which will be exciting. Yeah, I love the vibe as well. I like a choice they made where you can like summon a specter spirit before each boss fight to help you. So if you're overwhelmed by like Souls games, those specters are not like pushovers either. They make the bosses probably half as hard, would be my guess. So I really think anyone can finish this game. I always try to beat the boss without using those if I can, but after a few times, if you just want to finish the game, they at least put a way in there for you.
It's not easy. Remember that swamp monster?
One with like the weird tail.
Oh, he had all the things. He had like two little snail eyes, and he'd flip upside down, and that guy whooped me 60 times until I whooped him, and then I maybe talked smack to him after.
Yeah, very cool game. That's a fun one. I feel like most people say that is the best Souls-like that wasn't made by From. I think it's pretty well regarded in that way. All right, my number one game of the year is one I'm currently about to finish. I have every trophy except for the 2 ending trophies. Well, and one more I'll have to get on a second playthrough, but this is probably the most, well-received and popular Metroidvania game this year. It takes place in this cool kind of Japanese vibe where you play as like these animal characters who live in a more advanced world than the ape men. The ape men are people. And yeah, I mean, it's taken a lot of cues from Hollow Knight, even in like the art style with the hand-drawn art. But it's really excellent. I like that this game is focused on parrying. So it kind of feels like you took Hollow Knight, mixed it with Sekiro, and it even doubles down on the parry like really hard, where there are unblockable attacks, and eventually you upgrade your parry in a way where you can hold the parry, and if you really commit to the parry, you can even parry an unblockable attack. And so it really rewards and basically can only be played in that way, where like you've got to learn to parry, or you're not going to do good at this game, really. Which might be a turnoff to some people. It does have 2 difficulty modes, so I do think anyone could play it, because story mode is vastly easier. Like way easier than normal mode. Normal mode is brutal. There's like no invincibility between. Usually when you get hit, you have like a second where you're invulnerable and can't take damage again. In this game, you don't. You can get hit, and then a second enemy is also swinging his sword, and they'll just ping pong you. You're like boom, 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 boom. You get hit 4 times and you're dead. So it can be pretty punishing, but it's really cool. I like that the story is more clear than a game like Hollow Knight that is a little more obscure. It takes a little bit of the game to get to that clear point, but it does get there. Skill tree's cool. The characters are really cool. Yeah, can't say enough good things about this one. It's just excellent. I'm sad to I'm at the final boss, and I'm sad to be there. But it's been so good that I'm okay with it. 9 Souls, super excellent. That's my number 1 game that I played in 2024.
My number 1 didn't come out in 2024, but recent enough, and it's fantastic.
And it did have 1 or maybe 2 of its big expansion packs come out this year. So I think
it's had 3 almost, maybe.
I think 1 of them came out last year, and the other 2 came out this year.
Okay. But that's Remnant 2. If you haven't played Remnant, you should give it a chance, because it's very, very deep, and there's almost an unlimited number of unlockables or things to achieve. For example, you have to go to a specific area at a specific time of day and be wearing specific rings. And all of this is found via YouTube. If you really want to get into the game, I have spent more time on this game than any game we've mentioned today. It's so deep, and you can just make the coolest, complex, yet simple enough builds to make it so fun. People call it a Souls-like with guns, and it feels like that in a way. It really does. It's just epic. You know, you just want to. It's so good. I don't know.
I like that it's built for co-op too. Like, it seems like that was their intent. Like, we want you to play this with one or two of your friends. You can play it solo, but it seems like it's, in my opinion, it's definitely best with another person.
I used to play it solo, and I would join random people's lobbies, and if I knew secrets about where they were, I would go over to them and like take off my whole outfit or like crouch, just like bounce up and down. And they were like, "What's this guy doing?" And I'd like shoot at their feet and like tell them to, because there wasn't a quick chat.
Interesting.
And so I'm trying to communicate with movement and my attire, and I'd make them put the same outfit as me on because we had to wear it in a specific area or something. And it was fun to like teach people the game with no words. And they're like, "Whoa, we just unlocked a secret we didn't know about from this guy that never talked to us."
Yeah.
And
I'd almost, this is a weird like analogy, but I'd almost say this game is kind of, if you mixed Helldivers and Elden Ring, like you almost get there kind of. It's probably a little more skewed towards Elden Ring, because it can be tough, and like you do have to like focus on dodging and like working together as a team. But there's almost like that fun vibe of like we're just hanging out at the same time and like trying to get better loot, and almost Borderlands mixed with Elden Ring. Maybe.
I think there's at least 4 difficulty levels. You can play it very casually and then test yourself.
Yeah.
Say, I made this build with these rings and these weapons and these perks. Let's see if we can ramp up the difficulty and win, because it is not easy to beat. I don't know if it's Apocalypse is the difficulty they call.
Yeah, I think so.
The top one. To beat some of those scenarios takes all 3 people in your group being near perfect. Like, I don't know. It's a fantastic game. I hope they make a 3rd one. I don't know if they are.
I felt like that one was pretty successful, I think. I don't know. I
hope so. It should have been. It was so fun.
So I hope they will too. That team, Gunfire Games, man, I feel like they make good stuff. This game seemed like I really love the first Remnant, but it seemed like a little janky.
Yeah.
This one seems more polished, and like they're slowly getting better. So I can only imagine what like a Remnant 3 would be like.
Yeah, I think this one is easier than the first. I have never played a boss for so long in my life than I did in the first Remnant game.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some very tough spots in that one. A little less forgiving. Well, that's cool, Devin. That was your number 1, right?
That was a number 1.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this top 10, which was really my top 10, Devin's top 10s. And then we also had 20 honorable mentions. So that was a top 40 for you of the best video games that we played this year. Again, they didn't all come out this year. We're always trying to catch up and, play whatever our hearts desire. But those are the games that we loved this year. So that's going to do it for this top 10 list here on Super Game Brothers. And Devin, I've made an executive decision. So you're going to like it and just go with it. Okay, we're going to punt the board game version of this conversation to next week.
Oh, okay.
Because next week will be right after New Year's anyway, so it'll kind of be the same scenario with no news. And,
that's perfect. And we're almost at 2 hours already.
Almost there anyway. So I don't think forcing another 45 minutes in here would be helpful. And that way there will be a little less too.
Yeah, we can come very prepared for the board game section, because Devin's memory is not that good.
Oh, no, you're good. Cool. Well, Devin, that's going to do it for episode 39. It's just kind of a retrospective of the year. This week was a little focused on the video games that we played, but next week we'll be focused on the board games that we played this year. And I think that 1-2 punch will kind of be fun to have a little bit separate and we spent a good amount of time on those 40 games we just talked about. So being able to do a similar thing for board games next week, I think will be fun. Devin, any parting words before we bounce? Anything else you want to
I'm just grateful we've stuck with this, and you've believed in me enough to be your lazy companion in all of this.
Hey, we're here. We're saying words into this microphone, and that's what matters. So one of my goals this month not this month, this coming year, is to push a lot more short content out from our podcast.
That should be my goal as well.
It's hard to do because it's hard to just find the funny or good moments. Like, we just talked for 2 hours, and I don't know what the best moments would be. This one kind of writes itself, I guess, but we just talked about 40 video games, and each one of those 40 could probably be a short. So that makes more sense. But in most weeks where we don't have a list like that, it's harder to know, like, okay, we started the episode talking about Beast games. Do I want to make a clip about that? Or was there anything worthwhile in there? Anyway, so that's one of my goals. Let me know in the comments, anybody, if you have any advice for that. So I feel like that's the way we grow this, is through that stuff, which is stuff I'm not good at.
Yeah. It is true. We will get there.
Yeah. Well, that was episode 39. We'll be back next week for the 40th episode, which will be... I'll be out of town Wednesday and Thursday. So probably have to film it Friday or Saturday, and that will be in 2025. So Happy New Year, everybody. Next time you hear our voices, it will be the new year. And who knows what kind of games will come out in this coming year. Probably lots of good ones. Grand Theft Auto 6. It's going to be a crazy year because of that alone. So anyways, that's going to do it for this episode, and we will see you next week for the next one. Till then, adios.